how do you know that you hunger for righteousness? Well, I want to give you some pointers that can help answer this question. There are 4 signs that you can look for to assess whether or not you hunger for righteousness. The first point is a dissatisfaction with one's sin. This goes back to the first beatitude, when Jesus promises, a blessing to those who are poor in spirit. When you recognize sin in your life, you hate it. You want to kill it. That's what Paul talks about. Going back to Romans, let's see how he reacts to the sin in his life. Romans 7. For I do not understand my own actions, for I do not do what I want, but I do the very thing I hate. Now, if I do what I do not want, I agree with the law that it is good. So now it is no longer I who do it, but sin that dwells within me. For I know that nothing good dwells in me, that is, in my flesh. For I have the desire to do what is right, but not the ability to carry it out. It seems like Paul's frustrated, right? He knows what he's doing is wrong. He knows the difference between right and wrong, and he knows that he detests it. He recognizes that this sin that he continues to do is against the law that he agrees with. And as a follower of Jesus, Paul understands that sin displeases God. And that's the second sign that you hunger for righteousness, an intense longing to please God. Disciples are aimed at pleasing God. Does that sound like you? When you go about your business, your work, your chores, what have you, does God come into your mind? Do you do everything for His glory? Do you think about the things you do as acts of worship unto the Lord? Are you focused on pleasing God or on pleasing man? Because a lot of newer immature Christians can fall into this trap, the deafening applause of man. They can find satisfaction from that instead of the stillness of their Father's voice. Disciples, first and foremost, want to please God. Jesus made this very simple for us when He told us that if we love Him, we will obey His commandments. And because of this desire to please God, disciples, number 3, desire to live a holy life. The word holy means set apart. So disciples who hunger for righteousness will naturally develop a desire to live a life set apart from the world, a holy hunger. Why? Because this pleases God. Jesus Himself lived a life set apart. As we read in John 2, John records for us one of the instances of Jesus cleansing the temple. And He told those who sold the pigeons, "Take these things away. Do not make my Father's house a house of trade." His disciples remembered that it was written, "Zeal for your house will consume me." Zeal for the house of God consumed the nature of Jesus. He longed to live this holy life, even though He was sinless and perfect. He still pursued that. He still chased after that. And He demonstrated it for us. It's a fact of Christian living that's established for us all the way back in Leviticus and is then reiterated for us by Peter in 1 Peter. In 1 Peter, he quotes Leviticus for us today, where God tells us, "You shall be holy, for I am holy." Disciples have a desire to live a life set apart for God. And finally, the fourth point, disciples who hunger for righteousness treat others with compassion. They treat others the way that Jesus first treated them. They do this because they're committed to living a life that pleases God. A life that pleases God does what God says. They love their neighbors, they love their enemies even. So those are 4 things that you can look for in your life to see if you are hungry for the righteousness of God. As Christians, Pastor Allen says this all the time, everything we do must be done in the right way with the right attitude. And that's how we can chase after righteousness. To hunger and thirst for righteousness is really to possess an active state of spiritual well-being, longing for that. And that's an interesting paradox, right? Because in one hand, Christians are redeemed in full. If you placed your faith in Jesus, you can live with confidence that one day you'll stand before God justified because of Christ's work on the cross. But on the other hand, now that the Christian has been transformed, born again, they now possess this desire to become more and more holy, more and more godly in their living. And they will always chase that for the rest of their lives.